Welcome to The Explainer. You ever look at a company and just wonder, how do they do it? Like, what's their secret sauce? Well, it's rarely just about the product. More often than not, it's about having a team that's just unbeatable. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the system that makes that happen. A system where everything, and I mean everything, from people to tech, clicks together perfectly.
All right, so how do you really stress test a system like this? Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine it's your first day as the new head of HR. Not just at any company, but a massive one. We're talking 110,000 people. And then, just for fun, a global pandemic throws the entire world into chaos. Sounds like a nightmare, right? Well, this wasn't some thought experiment. This was the reality for Christy Pambianchi when she joined Intel.
I mean, the challenge was just immense. How on earth do you keep a company that's all about innovation, innovating, when thousands of your newest employees haven't even shaken hands with their coworkers? Intel's answer wasn't just, shipping out better webcams. No, they had to go way deeper. They had to rethink their entire strategy for how work gets done.
And that's where this concept, the high-performance work system, or HPWS for short, really comes into play. The best way to think about it is like a high-performance car engine. You can have the most powerful pistons in the world, but if your fuel injector is clogged, you're not going anywhere. Every single piece, the tech, the teams, the processes, they all have to work together perfectly to give you that winning edge.
So, what are the actual parts of this engine? Let's pop the hood and see what makes this thing tick.
This visual here, it's perfect because it shows you exactly what I mean. An HPWS isn't just a to-do list you check off. It's a living, breathing system. Think about it. You could hire the smartest people on the planet, but if the way they share information is broken, well, it's like having a super strong gear that's just spinning in the air, not connected to anything. The entire machine just grinds to a halt.
Okay, so here they are, the 5 core gears of the whole system. First, you've got the basic blueprint, how the company is structured and how the work itself is designed. Then, you bring in the right people with the right skills. You keep them motivated with reward systems that actually make sense. And finally, you connect everyone with information systems that just work. Get all 5 of those lined up and humming along together, you've built something incredibly powerful, something that your competitors will have a really hard time copying.
All right, so you've put in all this work to build this incredible system. Now for the big question, what's in it for you? What's the payoff? Let's take a look at the amazing chain reaction that gets set off when all these pieces click into place.
I know what you're thinking. This all sounds great in a business textbook, right? But does it actually work in the real world? Does it deliver actual measurable results? Let's get right to it.
Okay, this is where the magic really happens. The system creates this awesome positive feedback loop. It all kicks off when you empower your employees, you give them meaningful work. What happens? Well, you get happier, more engaged people who actually want to stick around. And believe me, that's just the first domino to fall.
So that domino hits the next one. Happy employees lead to happy customers. And happy customers, well, they buy more stuff. So you see higher sales, better productivity. And where does all of that lead? Straight to the bottom line, more profit. It's not just theory. Companies like Starwood Hotels saw this firsthand. They figured out that if you create a place where your people love to work, the business success just follows.
But let's be real, none of this, the structure, the tech, the profits, none of it matters with the absolute most critical piece of the puzzle, the people. So let's talk about the human engine that makes this whole thing go.
And this is where it gets kind of crazy. When you actually look at the numbers, you realize most companies are playing with one hand tied behind their back. Get this. A Gallup poll found that a whopping 68% of U.S. workers are either not engaged or actively disengaged. Think about that. That is a gigantic ocean of wasted talent and potential just sitting there.
So really, this is the tug of war happening inside every single company. On one side, you've got these empowered teams, the ones who own their work, who come up with brilliant new ideas. And on the other side, you've got the clock watchers, the ones just doing the bare minimum. A high-performance work system is basically a giant thumb on the scale, tipping the balance toward the empowered side.
So how do you actually build that winning environment? Here's the secret. It's not about cracking a whip and demanding more. It's about creating a culture where people can succeed. That means encouraging teamwork, actually letting people make decisions, and making sure everyone is always learning and growing. And none of it works, absolutely none of it, unless it's all built on a solid foundation of trust and ethics.
Okay, but let's be practical. You're not going to run a system this sophisticated on a bunch of spreadsheets and post-it notes, right? Especially in a big company.
Technology has to be the central nervous system that connects everything. So let's take a look at the modern HR toolkit.
Yeah, we're way beyond just digital filing cabinets now. Today's HR tech is pretty sophisticated and works on a few levels. You've got your basics, the stuff that automates routine tasks like payroll. Then you step up to decision support systems. These help managers play out what-if scenarios, like what a new hire might cost. And then at the very top, you have expert systems that are so smart they can analyze all the data and actually suggest what you should do next.
The core of this whole tech stack is something called an HRIS, a Human Resource Information System. Basically, it's the command center for all your people data. Think of it as the one place you can go to see everything, from who got paid to how someone's performance review went. It's the single source of truth.
And this is a total game changer. It transforms HR from just a back-office support department into a real strategic partner. Managers can look at a dashboard and see in real time what's going on with their teams. They can spot a problem before it blows up. They can make smart decisions based on actual data instead of just flying by the seat of their pants.
But all this data, all this power, it comes with a huge catch. And it leads us to a really important question that every single one of us has to think about. Where do we draw the line between boosting performance and invading privacy?
You know, the source material points out that being a data whiz is now a key part of the HR job. But that classic line, with great power comes great responsibility, has never been more true. Which begs the question, where is all of this data actually coming from?
And this is where things get complicated. We're talking about a real ethical tightrope walk. On one side, you've got the desire to build a better, more efficient company. On the other, you have a person's fundamental right to privacy. When does trying to be helpful cross the line into just being creepy? Look, this isn't some futuristic sci-fi movie stuff. This is happening right now. There's AI that can scan company emails, your Slack messages, even your social media, all to figure out how you're feeling, if you're stressed, if you're unhappy, if you're engaged. And that's the big provocative question we want to leave you with. We absolutely have the technology to build these incredible, unbeatable teams. But we have to ask ourselves, at what cost? As tech gets smarter and digs deeper into our daily work lives, where do we, as employees, as leaders, as a society, draw that line? That's the conversation we all need to be having.